Yeah, no, I mean, we haven't really practiced since the couple days before All-Star break. But her ability to make everybody better with the ball in her hands.
A win, and the Indiana Fever without Caitlin Clark go up against the Las Vegas Aces and last year's MVP.
The Indiana Fever just did the unthinkable. They walked into a showdown with the reigning champs without their biggest star and came out with a win that shook the entire league. No Caitlin Clark, no problem. While the media was busy writing their obituary, this team wrote history. And what happened on that court didn't just silence the critics. It changed the entire conversation about who the real threats are in the WNBA. Because what you're about to see isn't just a victory. It's a blueprint for how legends are made when everyone's counting you out. When the Indiana Fever stepped onto the court without Caitlin Clark, most people had already counted them out. Two back-to-back losses to the Liberty had drained momentum, and Clark, their superstar rookie and the face of the franchise, was sidelined with a groin injury, sitting in street clothes. The buzz around the league wasn't about whether the Fever could win, it was how bad the loss would be. Social media turned vicious, analysts started throwing around words like exposed and overrated, and fans were left wondering if the team had anything left without Clark running the show. The mood inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse was tense. No one had answers. No one had expectations. The Fever sat at an even 12-12 on the season, barely hanging on to playoff hopes, while the pressure to prove they were more than just a one-player team grew heavier by the hour. Coach Stephanie White faced a storm of doubt. Without Caitlin's gravity on the floor, her ability to pull defenders, to control tempo, to ignite the offense, everything had to change. Plays had to be redesigned, matchups recalibrated, and confidence rebuilt from the ground up. White wasn't just coaching a basketball game, she was trying to restore belief in a locker room that had lost its heartbeat. But as the players laced up that night, something shifted. It wasn't loud, it wasn't flashy, it was quiet determination. The kind that shows up when you've got nothing left to lose and everything to prove. Because for the first time all season, the question wasn't how far can Caitlin Clark take this team? It was who are the Indiana Fever without her, and what they were about to prove would leave everyone speechless. Before the opening whistle even blew, the Las Vegas Aces had already made one thing clear. They didn't just expect to win, they expected to embarrass the Fever. And who could blame them? They were the back-to-back champs. A'ja Wilson, the reigning MVP, walked in with that unmistakable championship swagger. The Aces had experience, depth, and chemistry, and most importantly, they had something to prove, because deep down, they were tired of the Caitlin Clark narrative. For the past year, the spotlight hadn't been on the Aces' titles or A'ja's accolades, it had been all about the rookie in Indiana. Clark's record-breaking viewership, massive endorsements, and viral highlights had taken over the league. And whether they admitted it or not, players like Wilson were sick of it, sick of being asked about Clark, sick of the media making it seem like she was the league's savior. So when the Aces saw her out with an injury, they circled this game in red ink. It was supposed to be their moment, the chance to prove that Indiana was nothing without their star. That the Fever were media illusion, a one-woman show. They came into Gainbridge Fieldhouse confident, maybe even cocky, ready to stomp out the hype once and for all. But that arrogance became fuel. The Fever heard the whispers, they saw the tweets. They felt the disrespect with every shrug from the opposing bench. And what the Aces didn't realize was that every ounce of doubt only made Indiana more dangerous. Because when the lights are brightest and nobody believes in you, that's when real competitors come alive. All season long, Kelsey Mitchell had been under a microscope. Critics called her inconsistent, unreliable, and even invisible in big moments. One night she'd drop 20, the next she'd vanish with a cold shooting streak. And with Caitlin Clark sidelined, those whispers turned into roars. Pundits wondered if Mitchell had what it took to lead a team, if she could handle the spotlight, if she was anything more than a secondary scorer propped up by Clark's gravity. At the start of the game, it looked like the critics were right. Mitchell came out ice cold. She missed her first few shots. Her rhythm was off, the crowd grew quiet, and you could see it, the frustration building in her face with each clanked jumper. Through 3 quarters, she was shooting a miserable 4-4-19. Any other coach might have benched her. Any other player might have folded under that pressure. But not this time. Because Coach Stephanie White knew something everyone else forgot. Kelsey Mitchell wasn't done yet. During a timeout, White pulled Mitchell aside and said just 5 words. "Let it fly. It's going in. Simple, direct." And exactly what Mitchell needed. That moment flipped a switch. What followed was nothing short of explosive. In the 4th quarter, when the game was on the line, Mitchell turned into a different player. She started slashing to the rim with confidence. Her mid-range jumpers found the net with ease. And from beyond the arc, automatic, she scored. 9 points in the final 12 minutes, shooting 4 of 5 from the field. She didn't just find her shot, she found her purpose. But it wasn't just about scoring. Mitchell racked up 4 assists, tying for the team high, showing leadership and vision in critical possessions. She directed traffic, she created space. She carried the team. The doubters had their mouths shut because Mitchell wasn't just surviving without Caitlin Clark, she was thriving. She proved that when it counts, she could be the player, the clutch performer. The steady hand in the storm. This was her redemption, and it was only just getting started. While all eyes were locked on Kelsey Mitchell's late-game surge, Sophie Cunningham was quietly rewriting the entire script of the Indiana Fever's offense, 1 3-pointer at a time. And make no mistake, this wasn't luck. This was a streak of historic proportions that had the whole league stunned. Heading into the matchup against the Aces, Cunningham was already on a tear. She had scored in double figures for 6 straight games and was shooting a jaw-dropping 58.1% from beyond the arc in that stretch. That's not just good, that's the best in the WNBA during the entire month of July. And yet somehow, no one was really talking about it until now. Against the defending champs, Cunningham showed exactly why she's becoming the most dangerous shooter in the league. She went 3-4-4 from deep and finished with 15 points, but it wasn't just about the numbers. It was about when she hit them. Every time the Aces looked like they were building momentum. Boom, Cunningham from the corner. Whenever the crowd dipped into nervous silence, bang, Cunningham silenced the doubt with another perfectly timed shot. She wasn't just scoring, she was destroying the rhythm of Las Vegas. Every dagger she delivered was a reminder that this team had more firepower than anyone expected. And it wasn't just her shot that made the difference. Coach Stephanie White praised her for being more than a scorer. "Another ball handler," she said. "Another player who can create shots, stretch the floor, and crash the boards." And it was true. Cunningham brought energy on defense, hauled in rebounds, and disrupted passing lanes. Her hustle was relentless. Her confidence unshakable. That's why the conversation has shifted. Analysts are now calling her the frontrunner for 6th Player of the Year. And honestly, who else even comes close? She's gone from role player to assassin, a legit weapon that defenses now have to game plan for. Fans are starting to say it out loud now. The league owes Sophie Cunningham an apology. Because while everyone was focused on Caitlin Clark, Sophie was building a highlight reel of her own. One that might just carry this team into the postseason. With under a minute left on the clock, the Fever were clinging to a fragile 5-point lead. The Aces were pressing hard, hungry to close the gap and flip the game in their favor. The energy inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse was tense. One stop and a 3-pointer from Vegas could flip everything. And that's when Ari McDonald stepped into the moment and delivered the shot that crushed Las Vegas' soul. There was no hesitation. McDonald caught the ball at the top of the arc, the defense scrambling, and with 35 seconds left, she rose up and launched a deep step-back 3. No fear, no flinch, just ice in her veins. The shot splashed through the net with surgical precision. That single moment sent a message that echoed through the entire league. This team doesn't fold under pressure. They finished out. It was McDonald's only shot attempt in the fourth quarter, and she made it count. She ended the night with a perfect 3-4-3 from deep, scoring 9 points along with 4 assists and 2 steals in just 22 minutes. She didn't need 30 minutes or 20 shots to make an impact. She waited for the exact moment that mattered most and ripped the heart out of the two-time champions. And while McDonald's clutch shot was the exclamation point, it was only possible because of the foundation laid all game long by another unsung hero, Natasha Howard. Howard's gritty 18 points and 13 rebounds anchored both ends of the floor. She was a defensive wall, ripping down boards and turning stops into fast breaks. 3 steals, paint dominance, relentless hustle. After the game, she summed it up perfectly. Our defense gets our offense going, but when McDonald nailed that shot, it was more than just 3 points. It was the moment the aces broke. The moment the Fever told the league, we're not just surviving without Clark, we're thriving. And the craziest part, Caitlin Clark leapt to her feet. On the bench, cheering, yelling, clapping. She knew what everyone else just realized. This team was something special. For months, the Indiana Fever were treated like a one-woman act, Caitlin Clark's highlight reel with a supporting cast. But this game shattered that illusion. What unfolded against the Las Vegas Aces wasn't just a fluke performance or a lucky night. It was the emergence of a new identity, gritty, fearless, and deep. Coach Stephanie White had been saying it all season. This team is more than just one star. And now, everyone finally saw it. Without Clark on the floor, the ball movement changed. The plays evolved. Players who had once relied on Caitlin's spacing and passing suddenly took ownership, cutting harder, defending tighter, making decisions without hesitation. The offense didn't stall without her, it adapted. Natasha Howard set the defensive tone with her 18-point, 13-rebound effort, and her post-game words echoed the team shift. We don't rely on offense, we rely on defense to start everything. And that showed. The Fever held a top-tier team like the Aces to just 70 points, despite their roster packed with Olympians and All-Stars. Every possession was a battle. Every bucket was earned. And beyond the stats, something else became clear. This team believes now. They believe in Kelsey Mitchell's ability to lead. They believe in Sophie Cunningham's lethal shooting. They believe in Ari McDonald's cold-blooded confidence. They believe in their bench. They believe in their defense. And more than anything, they believe they can win without Caitlin Clark, which means when Clark returns, she's not coming back to a broken or desperate squad. She's returning to a unit that knows it can beat anyone. A unit that just silenced the defending champions without her. The Aces came in expecting a statement win. Instead, they got steamrolled by a team they thought was hollow without their star. Turns out, they were wrong. When the final buzzer echoed through Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the score read 80-70. But what the scoreboard didn't show was the seismic message this victory sent across the WNBA. The Indiana Fever are no longer a one-player narrative. They're a full-fledged problem. This wasn't just about surviving without Caitlin Clark. It was about proving they could win because of the players who had been overlooked, doubted, and underestimated all season long. Kelsey Mitchell erased every doubt about her leadership with a gutsy 21-point performance, delivering in the clutch when it mattered most. Sophie Cunningham lit up the Aces with precision shooting and relentless energy, making her case as the league's most dangerous sixth woman. Ari McDonald, the quiet sniper, delivered a fourth-quarter dagger that silenced the champions. Natasha Howard dominated both ends of the floor like a seasoned vet on a mission. And the rest of the squad, they played with unity, trust, and hunger. Like a team that was tired of being in the shadows. This win wasn't just about standings or playoff seeding. It was about identity, about growth, about proving that while Caitlin Clark might be the most talked about name in basketball, the Indiana Fever are much more than her highlight reel. They're scrappy. They're deep. They're battle-tested. And now, they're dangerous. Teams won't just be game planning for Caitlin anymore. They'll be watching Mitchell's handles, Sophie's range, Ari's ice-cold composure, and Natasha's physicality. The Fever just became unpredictable. And in the postseason, that's terrifying. What's even scarier, they're only getting better. Caitlin Clark sat courtside in street clothes, nursing her groin injury, unable to play, but fully locked in. She wasn't sulking. She wasn't disengaged. She was jumping off the bench after big plays, clapping, yelling, locked in emotionally like every second still mattered, because it did. And when that final three from McDonald splashed through the net, Caitlin stood up not just as a teammate, but as a believer, because what she witnessed wasn't just a win. It was a rebirth. Now imagine this same Indiana Fever squad unified. Sharp, confident, adding the most electric rookie in the league back into the mix. That's not just scary. That's championship potential. Clark's return isn't about saving a broken team anymore. It's about amplifying a well-oiled machine. She rejoined a group that's no longer waiting for her to carry them. They've proven they can win without her. And that makes them even more lethal with her, because now the scouting reports won't just say stop Caitlin Clark. They'll say, watch Mitchell, she torch you. Don't leave Sophie open, she's automatic. McDonald can hit you with a late-game dagger. Howard will muscle your front court all night. And Clark, she's now the luxury piece, the game changer on top of a squad that's already found its rhythm. This team's floor just skyrocketed, and their ceiling. It might be a WNBA Finals appearance if they keep this momentum alive. And that should terrify the rest of the league. What the Indiana Fever pulled off against the Las Vegas Aces wasn't some lucky upset. It was a blueprint, a message. A bold, undeniable warning shot to the rest of the WNBA. This team didn't just beat the defending champs. They exposed them not with star power, not with headlines, but with grit, chemistry, and players who showed up when it mattered most. Kelsey Mitchell silenced every critic with her clutch leadership. Sophie Cunningham cemented her status as the league's most dangerous sharpshooter. Ari McDonald proved ice runs through her veins. Natasha Howard anchored the floor like a seasoned champion. And the entire roster played like their backs were against the wall, because they were. But now, the Fever aren't the underdogs anymore. They're the threat. They've built an identity that's dangerous even without Caitlin Clark. And once she returns, this team becomes a two-headed monster, experience and firepower blended into one unstoppable force. What was once a team leaning on one superstar is now a unit of killers ready to make a run. If the WNBA isn't paying attention yet, they will be. Because this wasn't just a statement game. This was the birth of something real. Like, comment, and drop A in the chat if you're riding with the Indiana Fever. Subscribe and turn on notifications because this team, they're just getting started. And trust me,